Hey guys, it is J.Belle with Girl Talk with J.Belle. We're on episode 2 of the new season, season 4. I'm so happy to be here. I have a very awesome guest. She has a lot of layers. Okay, number one. Um, Clubhouse is another catch 22, but I'm glad I was on this day because of the fact that I found my guest. She is a voiceover talent, a singer. She is the daughter of one of the founding members of Menudo, and she's just all around beautiful. You're beautiful too. I have to say
Thank
that.
you.
I need tips
Thank you.
because I'm trying to get all this together. I got the makeup
you said
on.
you said all this.
All this together. Issa Lopez is in the building. You hear the claps?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Roadcaster. Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you coming on and
Yeah.
doing this. Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we just talking a little bit off air, just a little bit before
Yep.
we start recording. We were listening. I was listening in on Clubhouse because I want to get into voiceover, not realizing how difficult it is. And I heard your story. And I
Yeah.
was just like, wow, I was blown away. So the first thing I want to talk about is let's talk about your background a little bit and how you grew up.
Okay, so my mom and my father obviously got together in Puerto Rico in the 70s. He was he's not alive anymore, but rest in peace. If you look him up, Amaury, Amaury, Amaury Lopez, and you will see the huge list of accomplishments that my amazing father, late father, accomplished, and just an amazing all-around musician, composer, one of the people that was involved with Menudo, and even their comeback after years and years of not being together. And but he was one of those people, those people in life that are just spoiled, like
Yeah.
from the time they were born, and then just make every class they pass everything they try out for
Right.
artistically. You know what I
Right.
mean? So he was one of those people, but definitely all that creativity that I have, and obviously my singing voice and where I came from, because before I went into radio, I was a singer first, and then I fell into radio. But that all came from my father's side of the family. And so, yeah, I mean, music industry is crazy. I remember being little, just desperate to hang out with him, but he'd
Mm-hmm.
be, somewhere, with a band, or Cool in the Gang, or Casey and the Sunshine Band. The musician life is not for everybody. You know what
Right.
I mean? Kind of
Yeah.
like not everybody should have a kid type of thing, right?
Right.
So I was always obsessed with, I guess, being around him because I wanted to be a singer. That was my dream.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to show him, I got to show this guy that I have talent. And the reason why I say I got to show this guy is because my mom and dad separated when I was, I think, 3 or 4 years old.
Wow.
So by that time, he went his musician way and up the ladder of the music industry in Spanish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom wanted to get away from Puerto Rico, and she moved me to Colorado when I was little. So, but even, like I said, growing up, I fantasized about showing him, okay, I'm gonna be in his face, kind of like the record exec that you're like,
Right.
I'm gonna, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And
Right.
I'm his daughter, finally pushing forward to when I was 18. Finally, I was able to do my first like real demo, with him.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, that experience was unbelievable. And Miami Factory, if you look it up, that's a very famous,
Right. I remember then when I was
oh,
growing up, it was a
it's a
huge deal.
studio.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's a studio. Music
Okay.
Factory, I think it's called, in Miami. Legendary. So we did it there. And matter of fact, when we were doing my first demo with my father, now this is a long time ago because I'm old. Next door, Will Smith and Jada went in there because she used to have that rock band herself.
Yes.
So
Yes.
he went in there to practice. I lived all kinds of wonderful stuff with my dad. I mean, the stories can go on and on and on, but you know, his life was not easy when he got into the drug use, and that
Ooh.
drugs and music
Right.
business kind of just
They don't mix. Yeah.
no, right?
Yeah.
So, but when you idolize someone, whoever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure as a radio host yourself, I'm sure there's been a lot of times when you've been excited to interview somebody,
Right.
and then when the mic comes off, you kind of realize the type of person that you thought they were, but they weren't. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it'll stick with you, right? Like I never, as a radio person, because I was in radio for 13 years with
Mm-hmm.
iHeart, I never forgot the nice interviews, but I never forgot the messed up ones either. I never forgot the artists that were mean, you know?
Right. Those ones still stick
Weird.
in your mind. Yeah. They stick in your
Yeah.
mind because you're like,
And it's
what did
a
I do?
stamp.
Right.
No, it's a stamp. It's the way you treat people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere you
Yes.
go.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yep, yep, yep.
So I'm glad you brought up a little bit about your background in the music industry and that your father,
Yes.
was a big part of that. And so I wanted
Yeah.
to ask, because of the fact that you started at 18, you were recording your demo. Obviously, I think
My
you
first
talked.
demo was at 18. I started locally because he was way, way, way into the drugs when I was younger. So what I
Okay.
started to do
Okay.
is I started to remember in the 90s when it was in style for the rappers to have the singer in the background?
Right. Yes.
Okay. So I would like interchange studio time with local people, say, hey, I'll do this hook for you if you give me time in the studio. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
I
Okay.
started to build
Hustling.
up a repertoire, locally. And which is the reason why I was able to. There was a huge morning show here in Colorado on KS 1075. This was a huge station here in
Mm-hmm.
Colorado. And since they knew what I was doing singing wise, artist wise, I was able to start singing their morning show song. Just I started locally,
Right.
baby steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I think I've said this many times on that app that you go on to, Clubhouse. Your relationship that you have with the mic, whether you do radio, voiceovers, you
Mm-hmm.
sing, it's a relationship and you have to build it. You have to be comfortable with that mic, no
Right.
matter what you do, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you can't really create greatness unless you're comfortable, right?
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
So, how I got into radio from singing is I finally got my big break when I think was 20, and it was with
Wait,
Sony.
but wait, I want to go a little bit more into your music background before we jump into radio. Just because I want people to understand, like, it's not easy when you go into this world. Hold on.
Is
Okay,
my
you
first
froze for a second.
recording. I
Yeah, like
finally
so,
got a deal, a
right. So
record
yeah,
deal.
right. Because I want to talk about some of the obstacles that you face within that. As
Oh
you're
yeah,
working towards that. So let's talk about that a little bit before we go
yeah.
into the next part of your career, which is radio. So let's talk about a little bit more about your music industry
Oh yeah.
background. Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that.
So
Some.
when I did my demo with my dad, he was very, very mean, and the reason why he was mean is because I was morbidly obese. I was over 300 pounds. Through my childhood, I was very, very obese. And so, you know, I'm in my 40s now, but back in the day, there was no Adele's. Do you know where I'm
Right.
going with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was frank with me. He's like, listen, you have what it takes. You're beautiful, you have the voice, but I can't do nothing for you until you lose weight. Not one thing. And I mean, yeah, and especially him being Latino even
Mm-hmm.
made it worse because in the Latino community, I don't care who you see, man. You walk into a room, the first thing they're like, "Oh my God, you're fat. What happened to you, girl?" Or it's just a Latin thing. I don't know. It's
It's a
just a
black
Latin
thing
thing.
too. It's a black thing too.
It's the first thing they hit. It's like, I'm like, okay, Merry Christmas to you too.
Right.
Dang, you know? But here's the reality. When my father told me that, it hurt me so much. I came back to Colorado with my amazing demo. And back then, I decided, since I was so morbidly obese, that the only way I was going to be able to do it and succeed was to do the gastric bypass. And so back then, when I did it, no one knew what it was. So this was
Wow.
a long time ago. This was over 20 years ago.
Right.
So here's the reality. And I'm glad that you asked me this. I did what he asked me to do. And by the time I knocked on that big old door of my dad, because he's my father, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I lost weight. I got everything ready. He was nowhere to be found. It turned out he was it took my grandfather several weeks to find him. He was extremely addicted to cocaine at that time. It got really, really bad.
Wow.
And it was at that moment, being so young, I believe I was around 20, that I realized right then and there, Ma, at the end of the day, there are people that can help you in your life, but no one can do much for you except like you. Do
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with, you know, reaching out for help. And so I went back to the whole local thing and worked it. And it took about 4 months, but I found the right management.
Mm.
And within 6 months, I was at that Sony record table
Wow.
with 3 managers. And then the disappointment happened when they put before me what their plans were for me. Back in the day, you really didn't have control. I don't know if you know Pink, the singer, her
Yeah.
struggle of finding herself. It took forever. They started her out with R&B, and
Yeah.
then you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So back then, at the end of the day, really, to make it short, they wanted to hoochify me. They wanted to sexify,
Ah.
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was not feeling it. So I can't believe it, but I finally reached that status and I declined. I declined the record deal. I decided to walk away from the record deal. And the reason I did it is because how can you touch an audience, no matter what you do,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not being yourself, if you're not portraying what you want to do?
Right.
But let me tell you, it wasn't easy. I got really, really depressed. Um, I became a nanny, which is how I got into radio. But anyway, I became a nanny. I contacted my father, told him what happened. And for the first time in my life, he actually flew to Colorado and he spent 2 weeks with me. I couldn't
Wow.
get out of bed. I didn't want to eat. I was in depression. Think about it. Your dream as a kid, when you're a kid, everything is big and huge and exciting, and you don't see the bad. You see all the wonderful in your head,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
All the good
all this
stuff.
happens to you, and then you decide that you finally get offered what you think is amazing, and then it turns out to be a kind of a selling your soul to the devil type of a thing for me.
Right.
And he came and we recreated another demo just for fun. And but you know what, to wake up for the first time and see my dad at the edge of my bed did something to me. It made me feel loved. It made me feel like, you know what, you are better than this. Just get up and move forward. And yeah, it was crazy. And I became a nanny for a little while. And then that's how the radio situation became about. I don't know if you want to go into that,
Yeah, I
but
was gonna say, well, you became a nanny for how long, and then how did you
first
jump
of
into
all,
the?
I'm not a kid person. That's how good of an actress I landed that role of the being a nanny. But you know what? Here's the kicker. It was the type of nanny where this guy was really, really rich. And he's like, look, I got a 14-year-old daughter. I'm going to pay you to keep an eye on her, if you get what I mean. And I'm like, oh, I get what you mean, because we were all 14 at one point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I drove her to the mall. I
Right.
was like the kick it babysitter.
Right.
So it was the type of nanny job where I was like, okay. And when you're broke, girl, when you're broke and you're dying to pay the bills, it was a
Mm-hmm.
huge blessing. But it's amazing how the pathways that you go through in life, whether doors shut or they open.
Mm.
I do believe that your journey in life is all set for a reason, because here's what happened. He provided glasses for most of the celebs in Colorado, but he also provided glasses for most of the radio station like decision makers in Colorado.
Okay.
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 So he comes home one day and I'm walking out. He goes, oh, hold up, Issa. He was like, I was at this strip club today with these owners, and I'm
Strip
like,
club.
uh-huh. Oh, he loved the strip club. It was his way to unwind after work. Very smart cat. And so they were doing their thing, having their buffet, just talking. Because a lot of strip clubs, men just go to for the ambiance,
Right.
and just
Yeah.
to chill. And he was like, I was overhearing a conversation that iHeart wants to try a new format. They want to create a new format. They're like, most Latino people, when you think about it, we go from talking to you in English to, so anyway, as I was saying, estaba comiendo tacos y burritos. We go from English to Spanish without a thought because that's who we are.
Right.
So that's the kind of format that they wanted to try, the bilingual format, but on the air for the first time, going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I think I want to recommend you. I know you've never done radio, but I think I want to recommend you. Well, I took it offensively, and here's why. When you are like a bona fide singer, at that time, I was demoing for Jessica Simpson, Jennifer Lopez, the Pussycat Dolls. I was one of the people that sung Don't Ya for the first time to demo. Now, people are asking that are watching your show right now saying, what's a demoer? Let's say you're a songwriter, but you can't sing. You contact me to be like, yo, I just wrote this hit. I need you to sing it so that I can give it to this record label, or I can give it to this artist, or I can give it to Mary J. Blige. That's what I used to do while I was, doing the nanny thing. And I got offended. So I called one of Britney Spears' biggest producers locally. He had a house and a huge studio here in Colorado. And I was like, you're not going to believe what my boss just, that I'm nannying his daughter just asked me. And what do you think? And you know what? He was like, Issa, calm down. Think about it. If you take this job, if you go interview and you land this job, you're going to be in front of producers and music and surrounded by music all the time. This is perfect. Think about it. That's how Ludacris did it. He was on the air first.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Then he realized no one was going to help him but himself. So he started to, oh yeah. Think about it. So, I went into radio, but I never would have thought about it going in. But when I go into something, there's no such thing as being half pregnant. Okay.
Yeah.
I went in full, and I kind of left music. I never went back. And I lasted with iHeart, I think close to 13 years. I was extremely successful. Talking has never been an issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
So being myself has never been an issue for me. But I just really went into that whole radio thing. I wanted to give it my all. And when you have a local show, it's all about numbers and this is even before internet was huge, and you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So pushing to, I don't know, I think 2007,
mm-hmm.
I started to see, I don't know where you were, because I know you're super young. I don't know where you were in 2007, but that was a huge economic issue.
I actually had just graduated from college.
Okay,
so
you remember.
Radio. Yeah, I hadn't even radio.
But you know what? Whether you were in radio, whether you were it just went and a bunch. Yes. And so the red flag started to come in, but I was like, not me. I'm on the top. You know what I mean? Plus, I had amazing relationships with my bosses at iHeart. They gave me tremendous opportunities in both languages. So when you have more to offer, again, with any job, they were able to hang on. I was able to hang on to that job till 2016, But as the years went on, I started to get more responsibilities. I had to learn the board. I had to do my own editing. Like when I started in radio, I just sat pretty. I would put lip gloss on, a mic would be on my in my face, and I would just talk. And there'd be an engineer doing the everything. Right? That's that no longer exists if you're not a morning show or syndicated or something huge. So I started to learn. I found this cat that did production. He did my first voiceover demo too in radio. And I was like, yo, I got to catch you when you're available so you can teach me how to do this board. Why? Because I was trying to hang on to my job, girl. I was trying to be more valuable so that the people up on the top floor knew, hey, Issa just doesn't know how to talk. She knows how to edit. She knows how to do stuff. So, push forward to God. I started in 2005 and here comes January 6th, 2016, which is crazy because when you asked to interview me, okay, we all remember January 6th of this year and what a horrific day that was.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I got goosebumps. I'm like, that's crazy that she's asked me to interview, and I'm going to bring up What my nightmare, what I thought was the end of my world, was January 6th of
Mm-hmm.
2016. Now,
Wow.
let me go back just a few months because something detrimental happened. I was on the air. Imagine being on the air like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have that vibe going. I was doing afternoon drive at that time, and you get a personal phone call on November, I believe, 12th of 2015. And you hear your father has hung himself and you're still live on the air.
Issa, don't make me cry.
It
Oh
was
my God.
horrific.
How did you?
Okay.
Oh my
I,
God.
we have to do what we have to do when we're on the air, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell you and why I went back is that the reason why my father took his life, okay, was because when you're in the music business, it involves flying, being with artists, staying up late nights, and that involves drugs. And he had been off drugs for almost, I think, close to 10 years.
Wow.
And so he, at that time in 2015, he had been for almost 10 years a director of a church in Miami, a music director in church, because
Right.
he was trying
Okay.
to stay away from the drugs, ma. That's like a huge, when you were a huge addict,
Mm-hmm.
it's a huge struggle.
Right.
And so church, the you know, the odds of you running into that situation is real low. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he was let go. And so what happened was, and I was in my own world with my radio stuff. What happened was it took about a year for the depression to just go boom, boom, boom. And everybody and their mama was calling him saying, yo, I got a gig for you, but you got to come to Spain. You got to come to New York. You got to come to LA. And he
Wow.
was afraid to go back into the real music world because he knew where that would end him up. So he couldn't
Yeah.
take the depression anymore. And
Wow.
he,
Right.
it was a horrific situation. So moving forward to January 6th of 2016, which think
Mm-hmm.
about it, November, then December, January, it
January.
wasn't far from when the fact he took his life,
Right.
okay,
It's a lot
and
to
the
take in.
depression,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because he lost his job. Again, I'm going to say it again to your listeners, because he lost his job, what he poured his life into, which is exactly what I did. I was the type of person that lived and
Mm.
breathed what I did for a living, even outside when I was checked out. Okay.
Right.
So I'll never forget it. 10 minutes before my shift, January 6th of 2016, I was told three things after over a decade of dedication. I was brought into an office and they're like, Issa, and I'm like, yeah. They're like, here's your envelope. You've been let go. Security will walk you out.
Oh wow.
And I'm poised. I was raised right. I was like, okay, did I do something? Because as females, right, we take it
Right. As
personal.
women, yeah.
Like, oh, and they're like, no, no, it just, just corporate and it's all good. They can't. So I found out legally that they can't really explain much when they let you
Right.
go like that.
Mm-hmm.
Budget cuts. It's all it is. I found out, weeks later. And yes, I was making, in radio, I was making
You're
over
making
six
bank.
figures. No, I
Right.
was making over six figures. But to my defense, I was
Mm-hmm.
with them over a decade and I was successful. But it
Right.
doesn't matter when it doesn't matter what you do. You got to think about that company, think about that trade. Who would have ever thought that Kodak wouldn't exist anymore? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
People like Blockbuster,
Yeah.
people like, you know what I mean? Like back in the day, you
That's
think of those
true.
companies and you think that they'll be here forever. Yeah, no, nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. When I got in my car, I get goosebumps to, I got in my car, I was shaking, I was scared. I can't tell you how scared I was.
Mm.
I said to myself, okay, number one, relax. Don't start the car yet. And I said, okay, they took your job, but they did not take away what you gave them. You are still Issa. You are still who, all the thousands of people that you were in their life every single day, because you are in people's lives every single day. You're part of their life, especially you during this pandemic. You are part of their life every day. You're their girlfriend, right?
Right.
So I said, they took your job, but they didn't take away what you gave them. And then one more thought. You are not your father. And the reason why I said that to myself is because I knew that I was going to get home and there was going to be nothing going on and I wasn't going to wake up anymore and go to the radio. And the devil is a liar. You know,
Right.
you know. And thank God I had invested in a pro studio in my home. Thank God I had
Right.
put money away. I never used it, you know, but it was there. So here's what I did. Like any other radio personality, I started to look at, um, positions that were available. I had my mom, I had practically custody of my mother. That's a whole other story. My mom, I grew up in foster homes in Colorado. My childhood was a nightmare. My mom is bipolar, she's schizophrenic, and it was horrific. Before I went on my own from 16 and down, my life was a nightmare. Like foster care is just, that's a whole other struggle. So
Right.
I had already had custody of my mom. So my my want to stay in Colorado was a little bit stronger, okay? Because
Right.
with radio, if you get a job, you got to go.
Go. Yeah.
No, you got to go. So I did interview. I went, flew to a couple places. I landed a couple jobs, and I'm talking competition with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But when they told me how much they were going to pay me, one in particular in a very, very, very expensive city in California, I thought I couldn't even pay my rent with what they were offering me. So at that moment, a couple things came to my mind. Validation of why I was let go.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I was making over six figures.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
So when you go from making six figures to someone offering you $30,000 a year, and you're like, I'm sorry, what? I have to say what now?
You can't
You
do
know what I
that.
mean? Right. So I kept on looking, I kept on interviewing, and I looked at my savings. And I sat in my studio one day and I said, okay, Julissa, we all come into a point in life where you gotta jump the building, right? Or in the pool of cold water. And I said, okay, because I have no kids, I wasn't married.
Mm.
Okay. I
Right.
had enough savings to go for 1 year on my own with this studio and this mic. And I said, because of my mom and because I've always wanted to get into full-time voiceover, I said, I'm going to give it a try. So here's the first thing that I did. This is super important for people that are watching that want to get into voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a voiceover conference. It was called VO Atlanta. And the person that put it together, I was I got real close to him, and he's like, when you come here, I'm gonna have you, since you already have interviewing background. I saw your YouTubes with everybody that you used to interview on iHeart. I'm gonna have you interview VO people here. I know you're new, so that when you interview them, they remember you, Issa. And I truly will always be grateful to him for that. Because then I met Joe Cipriano, which if you look him up, he's the voice of so many, he's one of the most famous voices of voiceovers. And here's what he told me of the first step from getting to radio, from what we're doing to voiceover.
Right.
He's like, I'm glad you're here, Issa. I'm sorry that you lost your job, but listen to me. I said, okay. He's like, when you get back home, I want you to, to try this whole year thing. Okay. But on the weekends, I want you to find a radio gig. You were super successful. You will find a radio gig. Find somebody to still get you on. So that if, knock on wood, something doesn't happen in a year, you're still in the world of radio, Issa.
Yeah. That makes
And this was
sense.
back in 2016. Well, and that's exactly what I did. I came back home from the conference. It was super fun. I was able to kind of get my feet wet a little bit with VO people
Mm-hmm.
and see what their life was like. And sure enough, that's what I did, girl. During the week, I hustled. There's a saying when you work on for yourself. We work 24/7 to not work 8 hours. And that's exactly what happened. So on the weekend, Westwood One gave me, blessed me with a syndicated show on the weekends with another format, Had I See. Yep. And I did that on the weekends, which was, it was a lot of work. And then during the week, I just hustled and bustled for a year. And sure enough, here's another turning point in life. Okay.
Uh-huh.
This is crazy, girl. During that year, a friend of mine who I guess admired me when I was on the air,
Uh-huh.
she had a women's conference coming up. And she said, I want you to come. I'm going to pay your ticket. It's to build up other women, but it's during the day. I know you're doing your voiceover thing, but Issa, just come. And sure enough, girl, imagine the goosebumps to this, what I'm about to tell you. I'm sitting there eating my meal, watching the conference, and I get a text from the same person. This is 5 months into me being in voiceover, okay?
Okay.
Or full time. I get a text from the same person that let me go and walked me out the iHeart building. And it said, are you home? Are you in the studio right now? I lied my butt off. I said, yes, I am. What's up? He's like, iHeart is putting together a new format where it's going to be English and Spanish. It's going to be this huge star. His name is Enrique Santos, and they're looking for his radio imaging voice. Now, one thing I didn't mention to you, while I was in radio, I was already building up my VO career. I already had 10 years of experience, but with radio imaging, do you know what that is?
A little bit. Yeah, I know it. I understand it a little bit more
Okay, what
now. Yeah.
you're on Power in Arizona, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it's 93 what?
Power 8 98.3.
So Power 8 98.3.
I'm sorry, Power 98.3. I'm still waking up.
Power, it's okay. Power 98.3. So radio
Yes.
imaging is Power 98.3.
Yes. Yes.
You know, whether it's old school hip hop, that's called radio imaging. So I had already mastered that in the 10 years that I was in radio. I was doing that for a lot of formats on iHeart on my own. Feel me? I was reaching out to the producers, building relationships. Again, it's all about building and building and building. So the cat that let me go already knew that Issa could do radio imaging. So he's like, okay, I'm going to send these liners to you right now. I said, okay, I'm here. Line my butt off. Okay. So I left in the middle of the conference. I said, girl, I will explain when I can. Thank you for the invitation. I got to let you go. So I sped to my house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sent him the audition. I made the cut. Now mark my words. That gig was the only reason that by the 12th month mark, I was able to go full-time VO. The reason why is because that Enrique was syndicated. And so I not only was able with that big check to get, one station, but I was able to get a bunch. But let me tell you how I did that. This is really important. When I landed the gig, I already had voiceover mentors that were already full-time. So anytime I had a question about something that I didn't know, I knew who to call. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to call them out right now, but one in particular, I called almost like not breathing. Oh my God, I landed this gig. Oh my God. And he's like, I need you to calm down. He's like, this is going to be your moment to finally getting in.
Uh-oh. She froze. Oh no. Sorry, people. Zoom is acting up. Issa, you froze. No.
Okay, can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see you now. Okay.
Okay, when did it stop so that I could continue?
You were just about to tell the story of what was important about
yeah, when I landed the gig, I was like, oh my God. So I called one of my mentors because I had full-time VO people that I held on the side that I would call if I had a question about something or a rate, or I didn't know what to charge and someone wanted something for me to voice. I was learning, you know what I mean? The whole voiceover thing. So I called this person. I'm like, oh my God, you're not going to believe what happened. I just landed the voice of iHeart Latino. This is a new sector that iHeart is doing. And he's like, I need you to sit down. And I'm like, okay. He goes, listen to me. This is your way in to getting a real agent now, Issa. Listen to me. You're going to hang up the phone. You're going to call, blah, 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 blah. Gave me the info. And you're going to finally say, I have this huge gig. I need you to do the contract on this gig. He goes, this is your way in to a real agency. And sure enough, that's exactly what I did.
Wow.
I landed a gig on my own that was big enough. Mind you, I had like 6 or 7 stations on my own already
Mm-hmm.
to then be, I guess, like have the pull
Right.
to
To
be able to
demand.
call a real agency and say, my name is Issa Lopez.
Uh-huh.
I was just offered to be the voice of I Heart Latino. I need representation because I need my contract negotiated. It happened like that. There is no, because the deal was so big, no real agent is going to be like, oh no, I don't need that money, thank you. No, that's not the way it works. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that
Yeah.
was my way into getting into a national agency. Because let me tell you, if you're listening and you want to get into voiceover, I have local agents. You know what I mean? I was
Right.
already doing local commercials and, English and Spanish, building my repertoire. But there's a big difference between a local agency and an agency that is in New York City. That's the top of the top. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So that was my way into that. But let me go back to that phone call and that conference. I can't tell you what I felt and the stuff, the butterfly, right? The butterflies in my stomach or my heart dropping when the same people that shut the door opened another door where, let me put a little syrup on your show, where I now almost triple what I made in radio in my pajamas in my house. And it all started with the door that shut. You feel me?
Right. God opened
Life is
another door
like
for you.
that. But
Yeah.
from the same folks that shut it, and I thought my world was over in that car 3 months after losing my father. Like, all this stuff is flashing in front of me when I'm talking to you, and it's still amazing to me because every single month I break a financial goal. It's mind boggling to me.
Wow.
Every single month I break a financial goal. I'll give you an example because people need positivity right now.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As a business owner, you 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 do you go by quarters. Okay. My last quarter, I made more than I did in a year in radio. Just a quarter, 3 months. So it's just like, again, I just feel, I think that everything happens for a reason, and it's 10% what happens to you and 90% how you decide to deal with it, to handle it, to
Mm-hmm.
take it. That's whether someone offends you, makes your day. Someone made your day because you decided that what they said or what happened made your day. It's your decision.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I totally get what you're saying, and I, I'm glad that you said that, and you're very open about what happened after you were let go.
Oh, I was so
And I
scared.
had, yeah,
So
because
scared. 'Cause every day you wake up unemployed when you're in VO.
right,
Every
exactly.
day.
But people don't talk about how hard it is because
Oh, it's hard.
it becomes a huge part of your identity. It's like,
Oh,
what do you do, or how do you know who else to be when you're not on air for 4 to 5 hours a day, listening, giving back to your listeners, making them enjoy you, and all this other stuff,
yes.
and you don't think about the after because you think you always are going to have this position or have this job.
Oh,
And so the way
God,
that
that was
you
me.
Right. I think that the mental health part of it is not talked about enough because I'm gonna
My,
be
I was
honest.
scared to death.
Right. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I've talked about this a lot on my podcast because a huge reason why I started this is because I'm not getting the kind of opportunities I thought I would get by now.
Yep.
And a huge part of me has dealt with depression and anxiety with
Oh,
that.
yes.
As I worked really hard and I really had put my all into doing air checks, demos, sending them out, doing, talking to PDs, really trying to do everything that I can. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I still feel like I'm left out in the cold. And
Oh,
so
yes.
it really hurts a lot, and it can mess with you is what I'm trying to go with.
Oh my God,
And so the
girl.
fact that you're willing to
Yes.
be so open about it, because a lot of people act like it's okay. Like, oh yeah, I was like, oh, that means that guy got another door opening for me. No, sometimes that's not it. Sometimes
No.
is you have to deal with what's happening right now, and it's okay to feel what you feel. And so I'm so glad that you're open about that, and the fact that you talked about your VO journey, because I want people to also understand too that getting into VO, it may seem easy and the money really may
Oh my
seem
God.
good, but you really had to build up that repertoire and make yourself marketable in
And I
order to
was
get where you
working
are.
full time. Right. And I was
Right,
working full time on the weekends. So people didn't see that part. You know what
right.
I
They
mean?
don't.
They
Yeah, that's
didn't
what I want you to talk
see,
about. Yeah.
yeah, they didn't see that part. It took hours a day. I would say about 4 to 5 hours a day on sending emails, hundreds and hundreds of emails of the same thing. My name is Issa Lopez. I provide English and Spanish services. And so, I mean, I can get so complex because there's in voiceover, there's a difference between what you want to do and what you can do for the moment, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I was able to do radio imaging. I was able to do what I find, or what I call is thoughtless VO. And I'll give you an example. So for me, something that's easy come out of radio was maybe being a voice for an app, like, or telephony, which I know Rick Party always makes fun of me on Clubhouse because I do it really well. But if you're like, Isa, what the hell is telephony? Telephony is like, thanks for calling Walgreens. Para español, oprima uno.
That's your
You
voice
know,
on there.
stuff like that
Yeah.
is what I can do very well. So what I did to pay the bills at the moment, of course I wanted to do other kind of VO. But again, you have to stick with what you can do, okay? Because I wasn't booking, and this is another thing we need to talk about. I wasn't booking any commercials. Zero, because I
Wow.
came from radio. I'll get into that in a second. So
Yes.
it involved hours and hours of marketing, listening to podcasts of people that are um, successful, how they made it, uh, listening to people and reading on YouTube on ways you can market yourself to people without having an agent. Because just because I had a radio imaging agent at that time in 2016 doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean I had a commercial agent. And if you're confused and you're listening to me say that, an agency, a huge agency like in LA or New York, they have sectors. So they have an animation agent, a commercial agent, a promo agent. They have a radio imaging agent. It's different. It's different tiers. It's like college, right?
Right.
So I only had radio imaging. And the fact that I wasn't union, right?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't letting me, the agency I was with at the time, they weren't letting me do commercials because they were like, Issa, you got to be in LA and you got to be in New York. That's not the case now, though. Moving on. We can talk about that later. But anyway, it was hard. And every single day I woke up with butterflies in my stomach of fear because I didn't know when I was going to get my next check. And that happened for like the first, I don't know, 8 months of me being on my own. You know what I mean? I
Right.
started to land more telephony gigs because of how good I am with that, right? So that
Yeah.
started to pay the bills. And then I told you the radio imaging was already um, paying me monthly for what I did,
Right.
all the radio stations that I had. So by the end of, 2016, I had a good, 7, 8 stations. And just so you know, radio imaging usually, it goes by the state. So if you were to do a radio imaging station in New York, it would pay the highest. Why? Because New York is market number
One.
1 or 2, right? And then
Right.
there's LA. And then,
Yeah.
but if you're doing a little station in Texas, then it's not going to pay as much. You know what I mean? It goes
Right.
with, but that's what an agent is for, is to negotiate all of that for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you start to learn, you got to learn in this too. You got to learn for yourself how to, and then thank God I had a family of radio imaging people, right, that I
Mm-hmm.
looked up to and that I followed and that I built a relationship with, so that if I was handling a station in El Paso, Texas, and I didn't know what to charge, I would text that person or email that person and be like, hey, I've been offered this gig in Arizona, a little town in Arizona. It's just a teeny station. How much should I charge? And they would be like, Issa, for 1 page a month, $200. For 3 pages a month, $500. And they would help you because no one does it alone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oprah is not Oprah by herself.
No,
She
she's
had
not.
mentors.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, that year, I'll never forget that year. 2016, going full time VO, any of us will tell you it's it's a gamble.
Right.
Again, I am convinced. I've said this before and I'll say it again.
Mm-hmm.
If I was just a straight white girl that didn't speak more than two languages, I don't think I would have made it that first year full time,
Wow.
because voiceover is that competitive. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of amazing voiceover people out there. But it was because I did two languages and I provide a specific type of VO now,
Mm-hmm.
is why I'm successful, is because I'm myself.
That's what I was gonna ask. Are you? Do you believe that you're more fruitful, more successful, and getting gigs because of the fact that you're bilingual, versus
That's
like
the
you
only
said?
reason. That's the only reason. And here I'm gonna touch on a touchy subject.
Go ahead.
And some VO people may disagree with me,
Hey, go
but
ahead.
that is the only reason I've been successful. And the reason why is because there's a big difference between being a voiceover talent and a voiceover actor. Okay?
Okay.
Animation is acting.
Right.
I don't do animation. I do a lot of commercial, which that has taken me years to grasp, and that's after coaching. And the reason why I wasn't booking commercial when I got out of radio is because there's a difference between saying something and reading something. And as radio people, you talking about a deal on the air of something like a promo that they give you to read,
Mm-hmm.
that's not what you hear on TV.
Right.
So I wasn't booking it because it took years to get the radio out of my voice when I do a commercial.
Wow.
Something as simple as me telling you right now to say, man, I love me some McCafe coffee. If you say it a certain way when you're auditioning for TV, if it sounds radio, you're not going to get it because it's not for radio.
That's what I've heard that a lot. That when
It's
you're doing,
hard.
yeah, VO is not like how radio is. Radio, you're a little bit more
No,
comfortable, but VO, you have to do things a certain way. Um,
easy. You can record from 10 a.m. to like 9 a.m. to noon, okay?
mm-hmm.
And then record from 3 to 9 p.m. on your television. Or just when you're watching TV, I know that we like to scroll through commercials, but if you want to be VO, you have to watch what's booking, because that Subaru commercial or that commercial talking about Charmin,
Mm-hmm.
whoever booked that, they booked it for a reason. So you no, and the reason why I say that is because voiceover trends change yearly.
Right.
It's
No, I'm just
crazy.
saying because
Yeah.
when you hear Charmin or you hear the voice behind Charmin, you're just like,
Yeah.
it convinces you they have a really good voice, and you're like, I go buy Charmin because of the fact that I'm so convinced that they're a good brand. And
Yeah.
that's just the commercial and hearing the voiceover itself. The person that booked that gig, they have money. I would say they're booked for life. I mean, honestly, because it's
Yeah.
such a huge brand to be behind.
Right.
So,
Have
yeah.
you ever seen the DoorDash commercial?
Yes.
Okay, that is an amazing commercial. I don't know, and I've tried to look up who voices it, but the way she goes, from potatoes to burritos, to da 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 da, she's like DoorDash. She's herself. I promise you. Look, I've got goosebumps from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. Whoever that amazing, and you can either take either she's Hispanic or she's black, but whoever she is, I promise you, Mama, she's 100% herself. And when she goes DoorDash, that is the way that that is just her delivery. It's
Right.
fabulous. But if coming out of radio, I would have gotten that audition, I would have been like DoorDash, because it's radio. I was still radio.
The
No,
enunciation and all. Yeah.
it
Okay.
it it's the delivery. Okay, in radio, you talk more at people. Okay, in
Mm-hmm.
voiceover, talk to people. I'm talking to you right now. I'm not talking at you. It's
I hear.
different.
I hear the difference because,
It's different.
and I think that's the one thing that people
Yeah,
people need to realize too in radio. You don't have to yell and talk at
yeah,
people while you're on the air. You
right.
know, it's crazy because I got feedback on my air check recently, and the guy was like, "I love your energy, but you sound like you're talking at people. You're not talking
At
to
people.
them."
That's right.
And that's
And you can practice
right.
right
That
on the air, just like you are. Exactly. Just, I mean, look at your podcast. You're talking to me right now. You're not talking at me. So I want you to start practicing when you get on the air. And when you're on the air, just be like, yeah, God, can y'all believe, inauguration is coming up. Y'all as nervous as me. Like, this is crazy. Like, talk like you're on the phone. And it's really it's gonna make you a better, it's gonna prepare you more. You know what I mean?
mm, right.
They want the real you. You got that job for a reason. And it's because whoever you portray yourself to be in that interview, they were like, oh yeah, I want more her.
Have to get back to that. Once
Yeah.
they let me back on air because I'm on furlough right now.
But right, the VO voiceover. And then another thing, when people want to get in, they want to rush, right? There are
Right.
so many different types of voiceover. There's, promo. If you don't
Hmm.
know what promo is and you're listening, promo is today on The View. Today on The View. That's a whole different other art. Okay. You
Right.
need major coaching, because if you don't know the lingo and how to do it and the rules of promo, you will
Hmm.
never land a promo gig. It's mind boggling, the growth of promo. The people that I look up to the most, that I follow on Instagram, they still coach yearly, like monthly. Why? Because it's an art. You have to, it's like your voice. You have to take care of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Same thing with voiceover. Um, Anthony Mendez, the voice of CW's Jane the Virgin. That was
Oh,
an amazing interview. Were you on there on Clubhouse?
I didn't. I didn't get to catch it. I was
Okay.
working.
He said something that I've never heard before, and I'm going to steal it. He said, voiceover is like going to college.
Hmm.
You cannot get your master's on the first year.
Oh.
And I was like, ooh, I wrote it down and everything, just real good. I'm like, I'm stealing that, because he's right.
Right.
Think about me, okay?
Hmm.
I'm at the tallest that I've been in voiceover. When did I start? 2016. Do the math. Now think
Yeah.
of college. 2016, 2017, 2018. 2019 was my best year. 2020 was my best. And now, I,
2021.
look,
That's 6 years. Yeah. And that's
yeah,
basically you getting a master's if you really think about it.
exactly. And I still have so much more to go. But also, you got to really come to terms with what kind of VO you want to do. Because for instance, okay, I know a lot of people that want to narrate books. Okay,
Hmm.
good for you. Do you know what that entails? Do you know you're going to be stuck in a padded room with a mic for hours and hours and hours at a time? They don't think about that. They think about how cool it is to narrate a book. You got to do research, okay, mama and bruh. You got to no, really. You got to do your research. What does it take to narrate a book? I tell you what, I bet you 70% of the people that find out what it takes to narrate a book, when you find out how much work it takes,
Hmm.
you're going to be like, oh, yeah, no.
I think it's
Because
because. Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say. I think it's
it's a
because
lot of work.
right, and I think people think it's easy because they see celebrities doing it now, and it's like, oh yeah,
Oh,
they recorded this book, and it's like, no, I think one I tried to do.
hours and hours of time in the studio. Then you got to go back and and if you don't have the money to edit, a higher
Hmm.
editor, you got to go back and guess what?
Edit.
You got to edit over 500,000 words. Good luck on that. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what? If you accidentally, it your mouth noise. Okay, this is something that you only know when you do it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're editing our stuff, you're going to hear a lot of stuff, a lot of clicks that you have to click on.
Right.
Would you
Yeah.
like? Do you want to do that for a month,
No.
all day?
No.
Thank you.
I
Do
personally
your
don't. Yeah.
research on the voiceover stuff that you want to do, because it's a lot of work. Animation, anybody who wants to do animation, I want you to go to YouTube and I want you to look up oh my god, what is his name? Jim the Wolverine. What is the actor's name? Just look up Wolverine voiceover.
Oh,
They're
okay.
going to show you. Oh my god, it's amazing. They're going to show you what it took to finally finish the voiceover of when he was running in the forest, when he turned to Wolverine. you're gonna sit down on the couch and be like,
Are you talking about Hugh Jackman?
yes, Hugh
Okay, I thought you
Jackman.
were talking about the cartoon character, but you're
No,
talking about the actual movie
girl,
actor.
look up
Okay.
Look up YouTube, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine. You're gonna be like, oh my God. You're gonna text me later and you're gonna be like, oh my God, that is an art form. Like, no, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of acting. By the time you're done,
Mm-hmm.
you are exhausted. VO is not easy. It's not.
Okay.
Depending on the VO you want to get into,
Right.
you got to do your research.
Wow.
Yeah.
To know, to hear all these things and know all these things, it's a lot of information to intake. And
Yeah.
so when you're doing this, you've been in it for 6 years. You were in radio for
No,
13.
I've been doing voiceover for over 21 years.
Oh,
Full
wow.
time. Full time. I've been doing it 6 years.
6. Okay. So
Yeah.
then, wow. Okay. So I
Yeah.
had that all
Yeah.
wrong.
Because being in radio, I already had my local agents. I
Mm-hmm.
was doing radio imaging. Remember, that's
Okay.
voiceover.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
had, yeah. But full time is a whole different ball game.
Right.
Whole different ball game.
So let's talk about a typical day for you, and when you're working and
Okay.
doing different gigs. What does your
Yeah.
day start like, and how does it end?
Okay, so now it's completely different. When I first started, it was hustling because I had no gigs. So when you have no gigs, you're on the phone, you're on the email, you're following people, you're emailing and emailing and emailing and emailing. Okay, now I work by schedule. I cannot survive by schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot survive without a schedule. So when you have agents, more than one, like I do in different coasts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, you get auditions from them, and so you have to. Let me ask you something personally, okay?
Okay.
Are you a morning person?
No.
Okay, neither am I. When I get up, I don't want you to talk to me. Number one, until I have coffee. I play with my Frenchie puppy for a little while. I look out into the like yard for like a retard. It takes me a long time to get up. Okay,
Right.
so obviously, and this is through years, I've realized that's not the best time for Issa to audition for anything because she's not like she is right now. Because if you and I would have had this at 7 a.m., this is not the person. This is not the person you would have got.
No, you wouldn't
Okay,
have
it
got.
right. It's Sunday, so I will say hallelujah to that.
Right.
Okay, that is not so I do. Okay, so I have a lot of I book a lot of my sessions after 10 a.m. because I know that I'm warmed up. I've either talked to my husband or I've, I don't know, done some radio imaging in the morning because radio imaging is what I call thoughtless VO. What I mean by that is
Mm-hmm.
anything that comes to you that's in a script, okay,
Yeah.
to me, that you don't have to act is thoughtless. That you do already, any gig that you already have to me
Mm-hmm.
is called thoughtless VO, right? So I warm up my voice in the morning by doing those. So I'll give you a station that I do in West Palm Beach. Mia 92.1 or Mia 92.3. Everything you need to, I do a lot of radio imaging. So I warm up my voice, I do my stations. Then after that, if I have something set up, lately I'm doing a lot of corporate work. Do you know what that is?
A little bit, yes.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
corporate and e-learning is like let's say you start a job at Dairy Queen tomorrow. The video that they play for you to watch before you start,
Mm-hmm.
there's a voice to it, right?
Right. Yes.
Welcome to Dairy Queens. We're so glad you started. Let's go through a few steps for safety because it's always about safety first. That's what you call corporate or e-learning. Those pay a lot. So again, do your research on if you find out that you're really good at stuff and it
Mm-hmm.
pays, guess what?
Stick
That's
to
what you
it.
should be doing before you want to do your dream of doing cartoon. Because when you do the research of doing cartoon, you're going to find out that 90% of huge cartoons, you have to be in LA. But you wouldn't know that if you didn't do your research.
Mm.
Get it?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I do a lot of e-learning, I do a lot of corporate. Um, I do a lot of Zoom sessions. COVID really changed that for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if you know that studios shut down after COVID. So all the actors that used to go to Warner Brothers to do their voiceovers in the studio at Warner Brothers,
Uh huh.
they had to go out and buy equipment just like I have because
Wow.
because of COVID. So
Right.
it really it put this industry in a hole. But guess what? People like me, people like the people that I look up to that were already doing voiceover at home,
Mm-hmm.
We went up, 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 up in COVID
Because
because
you're
we were
already
prepared.
prepared. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just,
So
yeah.
let's just say 2020 worked out a lot for me. I'll give you an example of one of the things that it did. I was the voice in Spanish for the blind that spoke to you about COVID and wearing a mask and what to do when you're in public. So when you're blind, you have to hear everything.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so the CDC had to, communicate to the blind in the United States what was going on and what this pandemic was about. It was real serious stuff. Just so basically, whatever we were watching on CNN that they were telling us,
Mm-hmm.
I was voicing for the blind,
Wow.
you know?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So there, and again, this goes to show there's so much stuff that you can find work for.
Mm-hmm.
If you find a YouTube video that you find awesome, or someone that has a page and they have no voice, get a hold of them. And if you know you can do it, just be like, hey, have you ever thought about putting voice into these videos? Even if it's talking about a lip gloss or whatever. There's just so many ways to find VO work. It's not even funny.
I see that. I mean, I never thought about how many different categories
Apps.
there are. Yeah.
How many apps are there out there?
There's a lot of apps out
Tons.
there. So you got
You can look up who created the app, get a hold of them and say, hey, like for instance, me, I see that your app is in English, but do you have it in Spanish yet? If not, here's my demo. How about you send me a couple liners? Email me a couple liners and I'll email you a couple liners back so that you can have this app in Spanish too. Keep it short because people are busy.
mm-hmm.
Send out the email. You don't know how many people have gotten a hold of me of an email I sent years ago or 6 months ago or 2 years ago. You never know.
Right. That's true. I mean, you just never know what's going on. Well,
Yeah.
and to
And you
hear
have the internet.
right, exactly. Internet is the easiest thing to get a
Oh
hold
my
of.
God. People always ask me, well, how do you find that person? Um, Watch the end of the show and look up who directed it and look up creative director. The creative director is who makes most of the decisions about our voice. So look up creative director
Uh-huh.
and then look them up. Look up their email and just say, hey. But again, before you do this, okay, now I know you're listening to me. You have to be fully prepared with a pro studio, a pro demo, and you have to be ready to go. It's like I can knock at your door and be like, you know what? I can make you a slamming condo, girl. Perfect for your Instagram. And you're gonna be like, okay, where are your condos that you made? Oh, I haven't done it yet, but I'm telling you, I can build you a house that is I'm gonna look stupid, right?
Right, yeah. Make sure you're prepared,
So
people. That's what
yeah,
she's
make
saying.
sure
Make sure you're prepared.
exactly.
Well, when you're not recording, doing VO, what do you like to do for fun?
Since COVID, I mean, I don't know what I would do without my Frenchie puppy. He's
Oh,
amazing, and I
I
make
want
him.
one.
If you look at my Instagram,
I did.
yeah,
I saw you were
Issa
dancing with
voice.
him.
Well, no, my logo has been changed for me in front of a mic with my doggy. Like
Oh,
he's part of my. See, you have to play with your strong points for marketing. Okay,
yeah.
I suck at emails. Okay, I was always that kid that was a class clown. I was a singer. I was always booking the plays and stuff at school, right?
Right.
Well, intellectually, I'm not good, but I'm good as far as the camera, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
good as far as being, on the camera. So I've put him into my marketing. Why? Because I stick out to people that way. So that if
Oh,
you're a
that's
VO
cool.
person and you don't speak Spanish,
Uh-huh.
or they need a little Latin flair, I'm going to stick out. Oh, you know what? Because if you're doing a voiceover, okay, and you're already successful, and someone asks you, hey, I'm looking for a Spanish voiceover, um, you have to stop right then. And for someone to stick out, you have to stick to those people. So you have to remember me.
Yeah.
So the way you put yourself out there is so important. So important. It's just little things here and there. Oh, Issa, the one with the Frenchie.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's actually helping me out. He's my hype man.
The wingman. He get you some jobs in there.
Yeah.
And I saw the video of you dancing with him on your Instagram.
Yep,
And I was
I
like, that's so
dance.
cute.
Um, you know, outside of outside of COVID, I do a lot of voice over conferences, and the reason why is because I know that we're in COVID, but I don't care what anybody says. There is nothing like building relationships face to face with people.
Right.
And you have to own your craft. You have to present yourself to these directors, to these agents, and be like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm Issa. Nice to meet you. There's you have to stick out. And I'm very good in person because being in radio, I just wasn't shy, you know. But with COVID, girl, you got to get creative. But that's what everyone's job lately. They just have to get creative, you
Gotta
know.
get super creative. Yeah, when COVID first hit, I was like, I'm gonna take a break because I was doing my podcast, but I was like, I really need to take a break. I was working, I was on air, and I was
Yeah.
doing this, and I was just like, I'm gonna take a break. It's just a couple of weeks. We're gonna get out of this, and then it went longer, and then I was like, well, how am I gonna get back into this? Because I don't know, like I can't go into the studio, I
Exactly.
can't do over the phone like that. And then when
That's
Zoom
right.
kind of was presented, I was like, well, let me try out Zoom a couple of times. And now doing Zoom, it's helped me broaden who I want to talk to or bring on to my podcast because I'm not just focusing on one city that I'm in. I'm able to reach out to different women like yourself and have them on here and do this
But
video
you're
wise.
making this happen for yourself.
Exactly. That's
You
what I'm
see,
investing in
you
myself.
are doing it. Yes. Listen, Ma, right now, anybody who's listening to this show, I can give you the recipe to make the most lemon butter pound cake you've ever had in your life. But how many people are literally going to go and get all the ingredients and
Mm,
literally are going to do it? People want cake right now.
right.
It doesn't work that way.
You gotta make changes, adjustments, and you gotta adapt. Um, it
Yeah.
definitely has been a whirlwind
Oh,
for
I
me.
know. I can't imagine. I know.
And just buying the equipment. I mean, obviously, I'm not
But you
making
did the steps.
right.
How many
Yeah,
people do we know? They talk about what they want to do, but they never really do it. You're
right.
doing it.
Yeah, I definitely am. I'm doing it. It's taking me
Yes,
some time. I'm making some more adjustments because I'm using two
that's
tray
right. You're
tables.
growing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm using two tray tables. I just bought a new desk and a chair so I can have a workspace because I was like, I can't do
Okay.
this. I can't do
It's
this
a
no.
start.
Right,
But guess
exactly.
what? We're here right now because you decided to launch this podcast and to take the steps to go research. Okay, how do you launch the podcast? Okay, how do I put this on both audio and visual? You decided to take the time and dedicate your time, which is why I respect you and I'm here with you now because you're doing it.
I appreciate that. I really
Yes.
do. As we get ready to, we're gonna play a game, but I want you
Okay.
to share any words of wisdom for us young women that aspire to get into the VO industry, radio. Let us know what you.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to make it real quick. I have a link that I'm trying to put on my link tree, but I have no problem cutting and pasting. It goes from starting the studio without a budget to um, people that are gonna voiceover coaches that are gonna take the radio out of your voice just in case you want to. Well, I even have a girl who's a voiceover coach who started in radio, who can assess your voice to tell you what you're gonna be best at. So just
Wow.
message me. Yep, message me on Instagram, Issa Voice, ISSA Voice, and I'll send you that whole link, and you'll have a whole link to start with.
Wow. So people, make
Yeah,
sure you're following Issa on Instagram at
yeah,
Issa Voice, and
yeah,
she
and
will
I'll
help
just
you
send you
out.
the link.
There
Yeah,
you go. There you go. That's some
yeah.
great words of wisdom, though. I mean, keep it simple. Like,
Hey, I'd rather send links so that you because you know your goal right now may be just starting out to do the studio because you can't do voiceovers without a studio, you guys, a pro studio. It's not hard. You can do it now with hardly any money. Back when I started, you needed at least $10,000. Okay, it's not
wow.
the case anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have links. There are avenues now that make it easier. If
Mm,
you want to do a voiceover coach, how do you know? You can have the most beautiful voice in the world, but if you don't have reading skills, it's not going to work out. Sorry. There are coaches that can help you with that. And so I
mm.
have a link that'll take you through the steps.
Nice. I love
Yeah.
it. All right. So
Yeah.
now we have a game. Let me see. I'm playing with my hotkeys. So just in case you're like,
Okay.
what you doing?
It's okay.
There we go. There we
Okay.
go. We're going to play this or that, people. We're going to use that. Make it really quick. All right. So first one of
Okay.
this or that. Beach or snow?
Beach. I'm Puerto Rican. What's wrong with you?
Of course. Okay. Okay. Next one. Jennifer Lopez or Shakira? Shakira?
I know. I am abandoning my Puerto Rican friend, but Shakira.
Shakira. So
Yes.
I'm guessing you loved her during the Super Bowl last year.
Yes, I did. I thought she was way better.
I don't know
I,
what that one. I
I
I just
know.
picked it. There we
Well,
go.
let's see. But yeah, it's just the thing is, I love Jennifer. Jennifer is the perfect. Okay, Jennifer is the perfect example of someone who puts 100% to what she does and has maximized everything that she's got.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I'm a singer. I started out in singing. And so
Right.
Shakira is a singer.
Right.
Jennifer has made it work for her, but Shakira is more of a singer. That's all.
Gotcha.
That's all I
Okay.
meant. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Maluma or Bad Bunny?
Maluma.
Maluma. He's fine.
That and if my husband is hearing this, sorry, he's one of the most beautiful specimens living today. Like it's crazy how beautiful he is, and that's why I pick him.
Okay.
He's
All right.
beautiful.
He
Yeah.
is. Yes. Heels or sneakers?
Okay. Back in the day in my 20s, I would say heels, but when you get older, comfort is key.
So
So
sneakers.
sneakers, but cute ones, cute ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So
Yeah.
last one, because we all love these items very,
Yeah.
very much. I know I'm a huge taco fan myself. So
Yeah.
tacos or burritos?
I would say tacos.
And what type of taco?
Oh my God, girl. There's this place in Denver that made the Food Network. They take, oh, this is crazy. See now I'm gonna want it. They they take a shell taco, they
Mhm.
put the steak, they put cheese whiz and Velveeta and all the toppings, and then they deep fry it. They have the nerve, girl, to deep fry that sucker and then serve it to you. They've gone viral. When I tell you, when you take a bite of that, you are listening to the door gates of heaven open.
Oh wow. This is in
Uh-huh.
Denver?
Yes.
Okay, I gotta make a trip.
It's called, wait, and if you ever come, okay, guys, look it up. It's called Mexico City. And you can even, I bet you on YouTube, the Food Network will show you. It's called Mexico City in Colorado. Slamming.
Ooh, Mexico City in Colorado. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So one more time for all of my listeners, where can they follow you at? And what do
Yeah.
you have coming up next?
Okay, so let's see. Issa Voice on Instagram. Um, I am in the middle of a certain project which I will be announcing on Instagram because when we as actors, there are NDAs that you have to sign.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can't really announce
Open
stuff
it. Yeah.
until it's finished. Why?
Okay.
Because those producers will kill you, right? But
Right.
I promise you, I have a week to week relationship with my followers on Instagram, so you'll always know what I'm up to.
Nice. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much, Issa, for being on. And shout
Oh
out to
yeah.
Rick Party for introducing me to
Oh
you.
yes.
Because if I wasn't
Yes.
in on that clubhouse, I would have never had you on. And I'm so thankful for that. And your story is
Oh,
one for the books. Once
thank
again, I
you.
think this season is going to be great. So I really do appreciate you for being on here and being really open and transparent about your life and about your
Yeah.
journey. More women need to hear about this. All right,
Yeah.
guys, make sure you're following Issa. And of course, if you haven't followed me yet, you are missing out. All right. It's
Yes.
Instagram at Janelle Bell, JNELLEBELLE, and follow me on Twitter at J.Belle on air. I will announce my next guest soon enough as the season continues. You guys enjoy the rest of your week, day. Stay masked up, stay safe. See you later.
Bye.